We are less than 1 week away from October, which means that Domestic Violence Awareness Month is almost here. So today we're going to be talking all things Domestic Violence Awareness Month, including how people across Pennsylvania can get involved. We're joined today by 3 special guests from local domestic violence programs across the state. So if you wouldn't mind, please introducing yourselves to our audience, including which program you're from, what part of the state your program serves, and your role at the program. That'd be a great way to get us started. So Alex, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Hi, my name is Alexandra Brooks, and I work at Domestic Violence Services of Southwestern Pennsylvania. We very proudly serve Washington, Greene, and Fayette counties in Pennsylvania, and I am the Director of Prevention.
Great. Olivia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Olivia Souter. I work for the Women's Center of Columbia, Montour counties out of central Pennsylvania, and I am the Medical Advocacy Coordinator.
Great. And Stacy.
Good afternoon. My name is Stacy Doherty. I'm the Deputy Director at Laurel House. We are located in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania.
Awesome. Thank you so much to all of you for taking the time to join us today. I know it's a busy time of year for everybody, so we really appreciate y'all being here for this. And for our audience, as always, please use the Facebook comments to ask any questions that you might have for our guests as we go along here. So for the second year in a row, PCADV and NNADV have collaborated on a national campaign for DVAM with the theme of Everyone Knows Someone. This campaign theme strives to highlight how common domestic violence is, that it can happen to anyone, and that domestic violence is more than just physical violence. So the national campaign this year includes a month of domestic violence awareness content that we'll be putting out on social media. There's a week of action and a day of giving during the 3rd week of October. And new this year, there's a platform where anybody across the country can go to find their local domestic violence program or coalition to take part in the Give for DV movement. Currently, there are almost 200 coalition and domestic violence programs across Pennsylvania and across the country signed up to participate, including the 3 programs represented by our guests here today. So I'd like to kick off our conversation by asking you all, what does Everyone Knows Someone mean to you? So Alex, would you go ahead and start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been working at DVSSP for about 9 years now. And before I started at the agency, I think I always knew that domestic violence was really prevalent and that it affected a lot of people. But as I've started to work at the agency and I started to share what I do with people, whether they're family members or even just strangers that I'm meeting for the first time, I say I'm a domestic violence advocate, and I feel like I'm identified as a person that they can trust. And so many people come to me with their stories to tell me, either they've been impacted by domestic violence, or they had a friend or a loved one or a coworker. And so beyond the statistics, I've just learned that it affects everybody. And if it doesn't affect you directly, it affects you indirectly. If your neighbors are fighting and you're going back and forth thinking, do I call the police? Do I not call the police? Will that make it worse? Will that help the situation? You're being impacted by domestic violence. So even if it's not happening at home, in your home with you, it's impacting you in some way.
Absolutely. That disclosure is something that I hadn't thought about as far as Everyone Knows Someone, but I can imagine how prevalent that would be once you let everyone know that what you do and that you're someone who understands their situation. Olivia, how about you? What does Everyone Knows Someone mean to you?
So for me, I think the statistics kind of speak for themselves. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men will experience domestic violence at some point in their lives. And we know that domestic violence doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter, your ethnicity, your skin color, your gender identity, your sexual orientation, how much money you make. I think we tend to look at people and think, oh, they have it all together. There's no way they're experiencing what I'm experiencing, and we have no idea. So, I think just everyone knows someone is so true. It could be yourself. It can be your sister, your brother, it's just anyone around you. That's why it's so important to be an ally to those and just always have, be there to listen and be there to help because you know someone.
That's great. And Stacy, what about you? Oh, Stacy, you're still muted for us.
Sorry about that. I think that everyone knows someone. A campaign is important because, you know, as Alexandra and Olivia stated earlier, it can happen to so many people. And I think with domestic violence, people so often think that it's just a neighbor issue, or it happens to this person in this neighborhood at this time. But because it's so prevalent, it impacts families, it impacts communities. So it's so important for not just the victims and the organizations like Laurel House and everybody else to pay attention, but it's also something that communities and government and, you know, whether it's national or global, really needs to pay attention to and work towards trying to end and fight against domestic violence, because it happens to so many people and it impacts everyone across the board.
Absolutely. Thank you all for sharing that with us. One of our goals with the campaign is to really get more people to have conversations about domestic violence, something that unfortunately doesn't happen as often as we'd like. So Olivia, why do you think it's important to talk about domestic violence?
Well, domestic violence is really uncomfortable, right? You know, no one wants to talk about it. It's not fun. But, you know, just like with a physical health problem, if you ignore it, it doesn't go away. And, you know, with domestic violence, we can ignore it and pretend it's not happening, but we're just going to lose lives. So I think, you know, getting it out there that domestic violence comes in many forms. A lot of people just think of physical abuse, you know, hitting and pushing down the stairs, whatever it may be, but we don't really talk about, you know, emotional, verbal, financial harassment. So like, I feel a lot of people maybe don't even realize that it can be happening to them. So getting the word out there and talking about it is so important because it can help people identify their own situation. It can help them identify maybe someone they love that might be in that situation. You never know who's struggling. So I feel like it's important to always have that in the forefront of conversation and just be spreading awareness.
Definitely agree with Olivia, and with domestic violence especially, it thrives in the darkness. It does really well when it's kept behind closed doors. So the more that we as people can shed light on domestic violence and can really break the silence about domestic violence, we can really create a space for survivors to feel comfortable coming forward and talking to loved ones and reaching out for support and services. And breaking that stigma around it, because it happens to so many people. And again, giving them that safe space to be able to come forward and talk about it and get help so that we don't see these serious domestic violence incidents and these fatalities related to it. So
I also think that whether you've experienced domestic violence or you haven't, we all sort of put domestic violence in this box with a very specific definition of what we believe that it is. And so we're really underinformed as a community about what domestic violence is, the role that power and control plays. And while we know that it's really, really important for the community to be informed, we also need to recognize that our underinformed state is a tool for somebody who's abusive. They can use that as a tool because family and friends are not well educated on domestic violence. Maybe a person who is thinking about calling a domestic violence hotline is not well educated on what it is and believes that that's not a service for them. So not only is it important to get the information out there, but it's one less tool a person who's abusive has in their toolbox to maintain that power and control.
Those are all such great points. And if you had to give some advice to somebody that wanted to start a conversation with a friend or family member about domestic violence that they're concerned about, what might be a way that they could get that conversation going, especially if maybe the people that they want to talk to aren't, like Alex, as you mentioned, like aren't as informed about what domestic violence is? Like, what would be a good jumping off point for folks to get some of these conversations started?
I think some really just open-ended questions, asking, how is the relationship going? Are you feeling safe? Asking questions about how decisions are made, right? Because, well, do they hurt you? Do they hit you? Do they call you names? That's opening a door that some people aren't ready to walk through yet. But, what does it feel like at home? And what does it feel like when there's a disagreement? And is that how you want it to feel? And then also sort of the reassurance afterwards that this is not what a healthy relationship looks like. And there is another choice. We can have healthy relationships. And so this isn't, normal in most relationships.
Stacey or Olivia? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Even something as simple as just expressing that you care about them and you might be worried about them and that you're there to support them. I mean, even just creating or being that person that someone can reach out to if they're, they have questions or they're scared. Just being someone to be a support, I think, is an important way to break that isolation for them and feel like they can have someone to talk to and maybe get resources from down the line if they feel ready to make that decision.
Yeah, I think just having that open and honest conversation, Stacey and Alex covered it all, but just, being able to have that really awkward conversation, it's okay if it's awkward because it can help and it can help save a life eventually. You never know. So just, it's not coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of love and understanding and, friendship. So, it may be awkward, but it's okay. You'll survive.
That's such great advice. And hopefully people that are out there listening today will share some of that with their friends and family as well. And that's another way that you can talk about it. You don't have to wait to talk about domestic violence until there's somebody in your life that you're concerned about. You can have these conversations about domestic violence just like with a group of friends, and this month is a great time to do it. Like, hey, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Like, I just saw this thing and here's some tips that I learned about, how you can help somebody or talk to somebody. So you don't have to wait until somebody that is in crisis or you have concerns to bring these things up. In fact, the more we talk about it in everyday conversation with friends, the less it's going to be stigmatized and the more people will be willing to talk about it and not feel like they can come to you and for help if they're experiencing something. So my next question for you all is, what does Domestic Violence Awareness Month mean for each of you, both personally, and what does it mean for your programs that you work for? So Stacey, if you want to get us started.
Yeah, I feel like, domestic violence for many of us who work in the field is so entwined personally and professionally for us. So it's hard to kind of divvy those up because we're advocates 24/7, I feel like. But I think it's just nice personally for DVAM. It's great because as someone who's passionate about the work and about violence prevention and domestic violence, it's great to feel as though we have a community and you're not in your little bubble of, doing the work in your little corner of the world. It feels as though there's a whole army of us out there that are really working towards the same goal. And after the last 2 years, with dealing with domestic violence during a pandemic, it's been very challenging. So it's great to feel like you have that support and that community around you. And I think just for the program, it's a huge way for Laurel House to be able to raise awareness about our services and our supports so that people in our community in Montgomery County know, like, hey, we're here, we're available 24/7 and to reach out to us. So it's a great way for folks to know that there's a safe place to reach out. And it kind of gives awareness to some of the programs that we're doing.
Yeah, I think personally, it really means a lot to me because domestic violence, as Olivia mentioned, is not something that people often want to talk about, but it is the one time of the year that people are really excited to talk about domestic violence and learn about domestic violence. So I always look forward to sharing information with people during the month of October and sometimes even leading into October. As an organization, it really gives us an opportunity to have a collective voice against domestic violence. It's an opportunity for us to feel like our organization is much larger than it is because we're able to visibly see what support looks like in our communities. So I think that organizationally, we really like seeing that we're not alone in this. There are more people other than just our staff who really want to end this issue.
Yeah, so as Stacey said, we talk about domestic violence every month of the year. So, when it comes to October, then I can really talk about what I'm passionate about, what I'm really excited about, and people can't tell me to shut up. But for me personally, it means that there's people out there that might feel less alone because of this, awareness that's going out. People might see that there's resources around them and they might be able to get some help. And as an agency, it just, binding with the community, coming together, spreading that awareness and saying, we are here for you. That's what that means for me. It's just being there for your community, being prepared for disclosure and being prepared to offer help.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing that. And now for one of the parts of today that I'm really excited about, and hopefully this will give our audience some ideas of how they can get involved this coming month for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I wanted to ask everybody, what does your program have coming up as far as plans for Domestic Violence Awareness Month? And Alex, we'll get started with you and your program.
Yeah, we're really excited to be continuing our Purple Ribbon campaign. So what we do ask, and we have these available for anybody who would like them, we do have some purple pool bows that we ask the community to use to decorate a light pole, to decorate their fence post, their porch, really anything that you could tie this on. We'd really love to see it. And I know that we're on Zoom, so I don't know if this will be mirrored and if you can see it or not, but we do have these lovely yard signs. They do say October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. They have our hotline information. And we have found that those have been really beneficial to the community. Not only have people gotten the hotline information off of them, but I think it sends a really powerful message to somebody who may be dealing with domestic violence to drive down their street and see several of those signs on their block, knowing that they are supported and if they need help, there is help available.
Alex, if someone in your service area wants to get one of those signs or ribbons, how can they reach out to you to get involved with that?
Yeah, I think the best way to reach out to us is to give us a call at 724-223-5477 and leave a message. And we are happy to get those out to them. We have a few locations where we might be able to drop those off to them, or they could come to our location in Brownsville where we would be happy to hand those off to them.
Awesome. We'll get that phone number added to the chat then in case anybody wants to call in to get their yard signs. I love that they have the hotline number on there. I think that's a fantastic way to get that out there and hope that more people see how they can find help if they're in need of services. All right, next up we have Olivia. Olivia, what is your program planning for the coming month?
So we have a couple things going on. So within the Geisinger, Danville, and Geisinger Bloomsburg hospitals, we will have a little display out front that has some signs with statistics on it, along with our hotline number, just to spread that awareness. We are also doing a book signing. It's The 7 Lives of Jenny Rose. So it's a story, her story about domestic violence. So she will be signing books, talking about her experience. We'll be there to share info. We're also doing a movie screening called Telling Amy's Story, which is it's a film from the viewpoint of a domestic violence survivor. And then we're also, for Purple Thursday on October 20th, we have some local businesses involved to wear purple ribbon pins all day at work. And our information will be there regarding domestic violence, resources, how we can help. So that's kind of a little of what we have going on.
Awesome. And Stacy, what can we expect from Laurel House?
Yeah, we've got some really fun events coming up in October. We have on the 16th, we have our 5K dash against domestic violence. And then at the end of the month, we also have a fashion show for one of our thrift shops if folks are interested. You can visit our website to purchase tickets for those events. And we also are going to be participating in, obviously, the Everyone Knows Someone campaign, the giving for Day of Giving on October 19th and the Wear Purple Day. But we also are doing a Domestic Violence Awareness Month ceremony at our courthouse on the 19th of October, and we'll be exhibiting our Empty Place at the Table memorial that day. So
awesome. And we'll also make sure to put the websites for both of your programs in the chat as well, in case anybody wants to check out how to attend any of those events that you all mentioned. Alex, I did want to ask you about one other thing with prevention for the first Friday. There was something, I believe, that y'all had that.
Yeah, so we'll be participating as an agency in the October 20th Purple Thursday, but our preventionists are also going to be participating in the Go Purple campaign on the first Friday of the month on October 7th. That is tied to one of our prevention programs called Bring Love 365, and they do a First Friday campaign on several months throughout the year. So our preventionists are really excited to go purple on October 7th.
Awesome. The more days filled with purple we can get, the better. And also we'll have all of these events as well as other events from other programs around the state on our calendar on the PCADV website. So if you can't remember which website you need to go to for the event that you were interested in, you can also go to PCADV's website, to our event page, and you should be able to find all of these events and also other events from other programs around the state there as well. And if you aren't seeing any events near you, you can also go to our program locator. It's part of the Find Help page. We'll put a link in there in the chat here as well. So if you're not from one of these areas where our guests are from today, you can go find your local program on the PCADV website and check out what they have planned for domestic violence awareness in your community, in your neighborhood. All right. And is there any other way that you would recommend for people to get involved in Domestic Violence Awareness Month? Olivia, you want to kick this one off?
So you can go to PCADV's website and look up your local domestic violence agency. I know they're always looking for volunteers, whether it be direct service with clients or non-direct service, helping out around the shelter or the administration building. People are always coming and asking how they can help, and we always have stuff for them to do. So that's a great way to get involved. The only other way I can say to get involved would be to be willing to have those conversations, be willing to be open to listening to those conversations, and just being aware that domestic violence is very prevalent and it's here with us no matter what. So just being a good ally, being a great friend, and being there for your community.
A lot of the same for Laurel House. We are always looking for volunteers. You can certainly visit our website at www.laurel-house.org. We have a ton of volunteer opportunities, from tabling events to working with our crisis response team or our text line. We also, I think, as most people on here, are always hiring. So if you're wanting to get involved and help out with the cause and get paid for it, you can also check out our website to see any kind of job opportunities that we're currently opening.
I have to echo what Stacy said. DVSSP is also hiring, and it's not only an incredible job, but it is an incredible place to work as well. So at a local level, if somebody were looking to get involved beyond the Purple Ribbon campaign and the yard sign campaign, they could attend our Peace Begins at Home dinner on October 19th. And that information can be found at www.peacefromdv.org. And I think at a statewide level or even at a national level, I'd always recommend that somebody donate to their local domestic violence organization, whether you're donating time, donating money, or donating items. Those things really go a long way. In addition to really everything else that Olivia and Stacy said, it's incredibly important to continue to have conversations. And it's easy enough to just, if you don't know anything about domestic violence, say to somebody, maybe we need to get a speaker to come into our church. I don't know a whole lot about this. I want to be better informed, but I also want to be surrounded by other people who are better informed. Schedule a presentation for your school, implement the Coaching Boys into Men program with your athletes. There's really an endless possibility of ways to get involved. And if none of those sound like a good fit to you, call your local domestic violence program. I am very confident that any of us could find something that is the perfect fit for you to help out.
Awesome. Stacy, we had a question for you about the courthouse event. Which courthouse is that going to be at? Is it the Montgomery County?
It is at the Montgomery County Courthouse in Norristown, Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Fantastic. And yes, so if anybody is looking to get involved, like they said, find your local domestic violence organization, reach out to them, see what their needs are. I'm sure there is something to fit what you are interested in. And don't forget to also make sure you're following PCADV and your local program on social media, whatever channels that you use. It always helps with, sparking conversations and reducing stigma that we talked about. If we get more people sharing the educational content that we're going to be, all of us will be putting out throughout the whole month and throughout the whole year. I mean, we put out content year round to try to help educate folks and let people know how to find help, what domestic violence is, what it looks like, so many things. So we hope that you will join us for the online campaign as well as for the in-person events that are going to be happening in your community. So if you all could leave folks today with a takeaway for what they should remember about Domestic Violence Month, what would that be? And Stacey, if you want to go first, like what would your takeaway to be?
I think just in general, it's you are not alone in what you're going through or what you're experiencing. There's whole groups of us out there who are available to help, and we're happy to do so in whatever way we can. And that to reach out 24/7 to all of us. Our services are free and confidential. So if anything, even if you just want education on how to help a friend or how to help a loved one, reach out. We're happy to talk to not only the survivors who are going through, but also to their loved ones who need support and help around how they help the people that they care about.
Two things come to mind for me. The first is that nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. So there's no action that's too small that won't make a difference in our fight to end domestic violence. And just kind of a reminder with everyone knows someone, everyone also deserves to feel safe and respected in their relationships. Every single person, we all deserve to feel that way in our relationships. And so getting the information out there is incredibly important. Whether somebody's, maybe they're not ready for the hotline, that's okay. The fact that they have the information and they know that somebody cared enough to say something is huge. So no action is too small.
Yeah, my key takeaway, just know your local resources, know your local hotline number, have it posted somewhere, because I can almost guarantee at some point you might need it or someone you love might need it. So just having that on hand to be able to share, echoing what Stacey and Alex said, you are not alone. There are people here to help you, and yeah, we're here for you. Just so, at any time, 24/7, all those hotlines, we're here, we're waiting.
Great. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your time. Like I said at the beginning, especially during such a busy time of the year for everybody. So thank you for being here today. And we did have one other question from another program out there. So if you are a domestic violence organization, one of the local programs, and you're looking to get involved with the Everyone Knows Someone and the Give for DV campaign, you can register your organization online, and we will drop the link to that into the chat here as well. So we encourage all the domestic violence organizations out there to get involved, because the more we work together, the more we can help amplify our message during this month and throughout the year. So definitely come on board, get involved with the campaign, and for everyone else, find your local domestic violence organization and see how you can get involved this month and beyond. Thank you all again, and have a great Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Thank you.